All right, let's dive deep into something pretty cool today. The link between music and haiku.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff, especially when you start thinking about how these two art forms, poetry and music, uh, can both capture these like fleeting moments in nature.
Right, and that's what haiku are all about, right? Like
Yes.
those short three-line poems.
Exactly, yeah, with that 5-7, 5-syllable structure.
575. Yep.
And you know what we're going to be looking at today? A year 4 curriculum, can you believe it, that connects haiku with music, and it's all centered around, get this, trees and the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Hanami.
Hanami, that's right.
I love that.
Yeah, the beautiful, beautiful thing.
It is.
So one of the things that really struck me going through this curriculum was how they lay out these, they call them the 7 building blocks of music.
Oh, interesting.
And I got to say, I'm seeing some like serious parallels with how haiku are put together.
I can see that.
So they list out, structure, texture, dynamics, timbre, pitch, tempo, and duration. So, I mean, I'm no music expert, but I feel like those are pretty, like, fundamental elements, right? Do those apply to all kinds of music?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think of them as like the essential ingredients in any musical recipe, right?
Okay, yeah.
Whether you're talking about a symphony orchestra, a catchy pop song, or like even just a simple melody,
Right.
they're all there.
They're always in there.
But just like in cooking, some ingredients get emphasized more than others, depending on what you're trying to create.
Okay, so, like, give me an example.
Sure, so like tempo, right? That's the heartbeat of dance music, right? Keeps everything moving, gets people on the dance floor.
Makes sense.
But then you've got something like ambient music, which is all about creating a mood and atmosphere.
Yeah.
And in that case, timbre, which is like the unique color or flavor of each instrument, that becomes super important.
That's fascinating. I've never thought about it like that before.
Yeah.
So if music has these building blocks, could we say that, like, haiku have their own set too?
I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So how do these building blocks then, how do they help both poets and musicians capture like the essence of nature?
Okay, so let's take that 5-7-5 syllable structure you mentioned before in haiku.
Right.
That's like the tempo, right? It sets the rhythm and the pace of the poem.
Okay.
And just like a fast tempo can make music feel really exciting and upbeat. A haiku with shorter words and phrases might feel more energetic, maybe even urgent.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got the focus on natural imagery in haiku,
Yeah.
which is like the timbre, providing the texture, the atmosphere, much like the sound of, say, a flute versus a cello, right?
Totally changes the vibe.
It can totally change the feelings.
It really can. Okay, this is making so much sense now. I'm really starting to see the connections here.
Good.
So could we also say then that, like, word choice in haiku is kind of similar to pitch in music?
Ooh, that's an interesting connection.
Like a single word can shift the whole mood, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just like a high note can create tension in a melody.
Yeah, think about it. Haikus are all about capturing those fleeting moments, and sometimes just one perfectly chosen word
Can nail it.
can nail it.
Oh, that's so cool. I love this. So there's actually a haiku from the curriculum that really highlights this idea. And it goes, winter's cold embrace makes bare the trees' skeletal forms. A stark beauty reigns.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So that word stark, right? It immediately creates a sense of stillness, maybe even a little bit of loneliness. Just like a dissonant chord in music can kind of make you feel uneasy.
Yes, very evocative.
Okay, so the curriculum also talks a lot about exploring music inspired by trees.
Of course, with Hanami and all.
Especially for Hanami, yeah.
Right.
And it even talks about how composers use timbre to actually, like, depict movements of trees in the wind.
It's amazing what music can do.
Right. It's like, how do they do that? How do they make music sound like wind or like trees? What instruments would even, like, come to mind?
Well, composers have a whole toolbox of sounds at their disposal, and flutes are great for that.
Flutes, yeah.
Yeah, like fluttering flutes or like airy harp sounds.
Okay.
Those can really create that impression of leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. And then on the other hand, you've got like low rumbling drums.
Oh, yeah.
Which can evoke the feeling of like a massive tree, the weight and power of it, or even the sound of thunder during a storm.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, and then there's string techniques like pizzicato where the strings are plucked, which can mimic the delicate sound of leaves falling, very gentle.
It's amazing how those sounds can just transport you to a different place.
It
It
is.
really is like painting a picture in your head, but with sound.
Exactly.
And you know what else? The source material even mentions some techniques called colenio and glissando.
Oh, yeah, those are interesting ones.
I don't even know what those are. What do those sound like?
Okay, so colenio. That's when string players strike the strings with the wood of their bow instead of the hair.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that sound. It's almost like a twig snapping.
Okay.
It's a percussive, almost knocking sound
Okay.
that can be used to create that sense of trees creaking or like branches tapping against a window.
Oh, I can hear that.
And then a glissando, that's a smooth slide between notes, often used to depict like flowing movement.
Uh-huh.
So think about how branches sway in the wind. That's the kind of feeling a composer can create with the glissando.
Wow, I'm going to need a minute to, like, process all of that.
It's a lot.
It's really amazing, though, how much thought goes into making those sounds.
It really is.
I bet Japanese traditional music probably also has its own unique ways of representing nature, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Traditional Japanese instruments like the shakuhachi flute and the koto zither are known for their delicate, evocative sounds
Okay.
that often imitate the subtle beauty of nature.
So cool. I mean, we've really uncovered some amazing connections today between music and haiku, and I'm starting to see how these two art forms, which seem so different at first,
Right.
can really evoke the same feelings and imagery.
It all comes down to how art, whether it's music or poetry, taps into those shared human experiences, emotions that we all feel, connecting us to the natural world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today, here's a final thought for our listeners to ponder.
Okay.
Think about your favorite piece of music, close your eyes, listen deeply, and what natural imagery comes to mind.
Ooh, I like that.
Can you capture that feeling in a haiku?
That's a great challenge.
Let your imagination take over.
I love it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring those connections between art and nature.